Right. Good afternoon and good morning, good evening, wherever you are joining us here from. Welcome to Zim Daily, and we are following a breaking news article that we have been following throughout this whole morning as we are looking to hear from Harare the latest on Job Sikhala's High Court bail ruling this afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Zim Daily, your favorite news platform, always first, always fast, always first and fast. And welcome once again this afternoon. We are looking at we're following a very interesting story this afternoon, Job Sikhala's High Court bail ruling. In case you're joining us, this is your favorite news channel, zimdaily.com, and we are following Job Sikhala High Court bail ruling. And these are actually live pictures that you're seeing here from the courts this afternoon as we closely follow this story, and we're just trying to make sure that we bring you the latest from Harare. One of our reporters who is actually on the ground in Zimbabwe will be joining us live to give us the latest actually of what's happening in Harare this afternoon. Job Sikhala High Court bail ruling. As we bring this to you live, we're coming to you live once again. Good afternoon to you and welcome to Zim Daily. This is Zimbabwe Daily, always first and fast. Welcome once again this afternoon. We'll make sure that we give you the latest as and when we get it from Harare. Please stay tuned. We will be giving you the latest from Zimbabwe on Job Sikhala's High Court bail ruling. Thank you very much for joining us. And once again, this is coming to you live. And we are broadcasting to you live here from London. But one of our reporters who's on the ground is going to be giving us the latest on what is exactly transpiring in the High Court in Harare this afternoon. It's 22 minutes to 3 p.m. right here in the United Kingdom as we come to you live. Please stay tuned as we are going to be breaking down what we are currently receiving from Harare this afternoon. As you can see, some of the images that you're seeing on the screen, that's the President Nelson Chamisa there with Job Sikhala. These are live pictures that you are seeing. I'm going to be showing you a bit more of what's happening in court. This is Zimbabwe Daily. Some of the pictures that we are getting here, that's Job Sikhala there with some of the senior MDC-ALLIANCE members. You can see the prison officers there laying guard, ensuring that Job Sikhala is obviously in good hands. We will be bringing you this breaking news as we get it live from Harare. Our reporter, who's actually in court right now, will be joining us in a few minutes to give us the latest. But what you are seeing on your screens right now is Job Sikhala interacting with some of the senior MDC-ALLIANCE officials there. And I also have a few images or visuals that we're also getting from Harare this afternoon. We have the President Nelson Chamisa himself. I believe the gentleman in yellow there is none other than Hopewell Chingono, who is also in solidarity with the rest of the MDC officials, and they are in solidarity with Job Sikhala this afternoon. We are bringing you the latest from Harare. Stay tuned. The High Court is actually deliberating on the ruling as we speak to you this afternoon. That's the President Nelson Chamisa in court. These are images that we just received a few minutes ago. We are just awaiting that ruling from Harare this afternoon. This is Zimbabwe Daily. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Yes, welcome once again this afternoon live from the United Kingdom. We are following an interesting story. This is a breaking news story that we have been following all morning. The High Court bail ruling for Job Sikhala. You can see the President Job Sikhala there with President Nelson Chamisa. One of the things that the stories we have also been following is the past few days, as those that have been following events on Twitter, there has been quite an interesting discussion, rather a Twitter storm around the name MDC Alliance. Should the MDC Alliance consider rebranding as we await the bail ruling from the High Court? We've just been looking at one interesting story that we've been following here on Twitter around as you have been hearing, a lot of MDC Alliance councillors and MPs and many others have been recalled, and those that are following this story, many of the MDC supporters are saying that it is high time now that the MDC leadership should consider rebranding their party to something else. I think the challenges they are facing right now is the fact that whatever they are trying, as long as they have MDC name attached to it, they are going to be suffering all these recalls that we've been seeing. So in light of the fact that a few weeks from now there are by-elections and also quite a lot happening, and those that have been following the news are suggesting that maybe this is high time, or this is the right time for the MDC Alliance to think of rebranding. We have been hearing quite a lot around some of the names that are being thrown around is Alliance for Democratic Change. I've been following events on Twitter, and someone is hell-bent on ensuring that at least they maintain the democratic and change, and also the alliance, rebranding the party to something else that is not MDC, to at least try to move away from the confusion that we've been seeing around. We are closely following the events on the ground in Harare, Zimbabwe this afternoon. But for now, we're just discussing this headline story that you're seeing here. Should the MDC Alliance consider rebranding? That's one of the, that's what we have been following on Twitter since yesterday. Quite a lot of names are being thrown around that maybe Nelson Chamisa should now seriously consider renaming his party or rebranding MDC Alliance to something else in order to try and fight back. We have seen Jacob Mafume, the Harare mayor, has also been recalled, which means that whatever they are trying to do with MDC Alliance is they're just going in circles, and the only way they can actually move forward is to maybe come up with a totally different and new name. Let's hear what you think about some of the ideas that are being thrown around. One of the names that I have managed to, at least those that are on Twitter, have been the name that is garnering quite a lot of support, that's garnering quite a lot of support, is Alliance for Democratic Change. Let's hear from you guys what you think around the idea of rebranding the party so that they can at least move forward. Some of us who are spectators and do not necessarily hold a stake in this, we are just commentators. We feel that it is high time now for the MDC to seriously consider moving away from this soiled MDC name. I know there is a lot of history that is attached to it. Quite a lot of you are insisting that no matter what the MDC does, ZANU-PF is just going to come up with new ways of ensuring that they have an upper hand over whatever the MDC does. But we feel one of the things that is causing confusion is the fact that everyone is calling themselves MDC, which is also kind of costing them votes. But let's hear from the comment sections what some of you are saying. We are hearing here and the comments here, no rebranding. That's Clifford Mutubiki. Appreciate your comment there. You think that rebranding is not an option. Yes, let's also hear some of the reasoning behind why you think rebranding is not an option. We are following a story here, the High Court bail ruling for Job Sikhala, and while we wait that ruling, we have our reporters right on the ground following that story. As soon as we get that live feed, we will be bringing it to you live here on Zim Daily. But in the meantime, we are looking at one of these stories that have been taking or going around the past few days around the rebranding of the MDC Alliance name. We know that Nelson Chamisa has the numbers behind him, and politics generally in Africa is based on personalities. People don't necessarily follow policies in Africa, but they follow personalities, meaning that whoever Nelson or whatever Nelson Chamisa calls himself it doesn't really matter. He will still have, he is the brand behind MDC Alliance, and he's a larger than life figure. So we want to hear what some of you think. And I'm actually listening or watching some of the comments that we are. Everyone seems to be saying no rebranding, but let's at least hear some of the thinking behind that. The reasons why we are suggesting, or maybe rather throwing some of the ideas around rebranding, is the fact that no matter what they are going to do, they are going to go into the elections. Most likely, Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is not going to allow them to use the name MDC Alliance anyway. So they may just want to start thinking about rebrandings for the sake of moving forward. Jacob Mafume, those that have been following the news, you are fully aware that he has just been recalled. This is a democratically elected mayor, but they're using technicalities around the fact that there are some sort of technicalities within the law that ZANU-PF is trying to employ here in order to frustrate the MDC Alliance movement. We sincerely, or we genuinely feel that Nelson Chamisa is a brand in himself. He doesn't necessarily have to use the name MDC Alliance. The reasoning behind this, even if you are to look at the High Court ruling, MDC Alliance is not necessarily a party when you actually look at it from the ruling, the High Court ruling. So Kupe could easily go to the courts and ask the courts to even ban the Nelson Chamisa-led movement from using the name MDC Alliance. And you don't want to get into this ping pong that we've been seeing taking rounds the past few days or the past few years. MDC has been involved in this fight over the name MDC as if there is no any other name that could be used out there. We sincerely feel that the time is right for them to think of rebranding. And we are right here on Zim Daily, looking at the latest, and we are following the story that is coming out of Zimbabwe this afternoon. We'll just take a short break, and I'll be looking at some of the comments, your comments, just to gauge the feeling among some of the MDC supporters. We are not, we are very apolitical, but we are just commenting on what we think is the right course of action as non-stakeholders in this whole thing. We feel that the time is right, rather, for the MDC to rebrand. There has been quite a lot happening the past few years. In fact, since 2012, as far as we can remember, they have been fighting over this name MDC, and we feel that there are better battles or better fights to be involved in, rather than continuing fighting over a name when you've got 1,000,001 other names that you can use. Let's look at the comments here. Before we do that, we're just going to take a short break, and we will be right back. So this is breaking news right here on Zim Daily, and I see your comments, and I am just going to be going through some of the comments just to gauge the mood and the temperature among some of the MDC supporters here. We are trying to understand whether it is the right time for the MDC to consider rebranding to something else. Nelson Chamisa himself is a brand, and politics generally in Africa is about personalities. All we are saying here, it doesn't matter what Nelson Chamisa calls himself, people are still behind brand Chamisa. Let's look at some of the comments here that we are seeing as we await the High Court ruling on Job Sikhala's bail application. You're right here on Zim Daily, looking at the latest from Zimbabwe. We'll be right back. Right, so any minute from now, we should be hearing from the High Court in Harare. Let's look at the comments here. Is it the right time? Should the MDC be considering rebranding? Here is Nati Chindawa. Give more Chakanyuka. You're saying Clifford Mutubuki, rebranding is the only way to go. Otherwise, ZANU-PF judges are waiting for us in courts. Remember, Toko, ZANU Kupe, and bastards are after destroying our party. So this is also someone who shares the same sentiments as us. They think that this is the right time as we await the bail, the High Court bail ruling. The images that you're seeing on the screen, we received them a few minutes ago. That's Nelson Chamisa there with Job Sikhala at the High Court, and we're just waiting for that ruling on whether the High Court is going to allow Job Sikhala to is going to grant bail to Job Sikhala or not. But in the meantime, we are looking at the topic or the headline that you're seeing on the screen. In other words, we are trying to understand whether it is the right time or the MDC should even be considering rebranding, since a lot has been happening. The past few days, we saw MDC-ALLIANCE Mayor Jacob Mafume was elected by a majority vote to represent Harare, to be the mayor of Harare. But as you know, ZANU-PF and Tokozani MDC faction, they are doing whatever they can do to ensure they frustrate the MDC-ALLIANCE. And they're using technicalities in the fact that the MDC-ALLIANCE is actually not a party. This is how they're arguing that MDC-ALLIANCE is a group of political parties, or is a union of political parties, of which MDC-T is the principal party there. In other words, MDC-ALLIANCE is not necessarily a political party, but rather it is a union of political parties, of which MDC-T, led by Tokozani Kupe, is the major principal in that union. So we want to hear from you. Let's hear some of the comments here around whether Chamisa should consider rebranding. Once Chamisa changes the name, it's not going to be accepted by ZEC. I don't think that's entirely true. I think ZEC are more likely to dismiss the MDC-ALLIANCE name now that the MDC-T is claiming, or rather the issues about who is the legitimate leader of the MDC-T has now been settled by the courts, which basically means that the MDC-ALLIANCE, whoever is the president of the MDC-T party, which is the major principal in the alliance movement, decides what happens to that MDC-ALLIANCE brand. We know we do not agree with some of these court rulings, but it is what it is. You just have to play along. If you really, otherwise you're just going to submit and they will turn you down. But if you come up with a new brand altogether, obviously if you call yourself Chamisa Zimbabwe, and we have no doubt that Chamisa is a larger than life figure. He has the following. We saw this play out even in the last election. You had some people voting for a ZANU-PF MP, but choosing Chamisa as the president. So the 2.6 million votes that Chamisa garnered in the last election, you had so many ZANU-PF supporters actually voting for Chamisa. So he is a brand in himself. I don't think people really care so much about what MDC stands for, at least from our understanding. We know we have been following politics, African politics, and we know very well that it's all about personalities. People don't really read the manifesto. At least the majority of the following do not really care what the manifesto or the policies of that party say. All they are interested in who is the leader of the party. We are looking at some of the comments here that we are receiving. Paul Samanyanga, they will rebrand. I think the pressure is, they will most likely, one of the things that we're receiving from the leadership of the MDC is they are considering this subject of rebranding. They are making some consultations across the whole country, at least from the tweet that we received yesterday. They are saying that they are not going to make any decision yet. They need to consult with the electorate, at least with their constituent, before they can go ahead and decide what they are going to do. But I think it's no-brainer here. They just have to decide on a new name. I think whether they, as far as we are concerned, I think the dice has already been cast, and it's just a matter of time before we hear whether they are going to be rebranding or not. I think 99%, I obviously do not hold a stake, and I'm not even a card-carrying member of the MDC. I'm just a commentator in this and do not hold any stake. But all I am just saying as a spectator here is the plausible thing for the MDC Alliance to do right now is for them to choose a name that has got nothing to do with MDC. Some of the names that we've been hearing being thrown around is ADC, Alliance for Democratic Change. I was following that name when it was suggested by quite a senior journalist. Everyone was kind of warming up to that name, but we feel that anything to do with democratic change, or rather any reference to alliance or that kind of stuff, is not going to do them any good. We strongly feel that they should totally rebrand and come up with a new brand. Let's hear from you what you think. Thanks a lot for your comments. One of the comments that we are seeing or we have just received here is Chamisa is the real deal. It's not too late to rebrand. Monzora and Komich felt the timing. Chamisa for now ndiye arikurera tomboita zva Chamisa. Thank you very much, my sister. I think tikuvumirana newe, siyavumelana lawe lelo liqiniso lelo olukhulumayo ukuthi uChamisa is the real deal. Tinovumirana nazve nezvamataura sisi kuti Chamisa ndiye the real deal here, according to the way that you have put it across. Let's see some of the comments here. As CCC ndeyedu, MDC Alliance ndeya Chamisa. I think zurikuitika sekutaura kwatirikuita panapa. I think siyavumelana ukuthi okwenzakalayo lapha yukuthi for the past 7, at least since 2012, abantu laba bebeliweli ibizo lokuthi MDC, and since 2012, at least as far as I can remember, Vanava have been fighting over zita rekuti MDC. And imagine for 8 solid years, it's a ping pong. And murungoti zitanderangu mwaruti zitanderake omunyuti ngelami kama MDC ngeyama omunye layuti MDC ngeyake. And they are not actually moving forward with this thing. And this is why we feel that the time is right for them to at least start considering rebranding to something else that has nothing to do with the name MDC. Let's look at some of the comments here. Shaisa Mfaro Chamisa MDC Alliance. I think some of you still feel murukuvumirana nevamwe varikuti zvaiwa ngatirambe tichi tine zita rekuti MDC. Abanye benyu bati ibizo MDC hiyo is the real thing, and litilona kumeru Chamisa ebe should continue rather fighting for the name MDC Alliance. I think this is a lost cause, and we feel that whoever is advising the MDC, at least for those that can hear us this afternoon, please consider rebranding. It's never too late to rebrand. One of the arguments that we make in Israel, we follow Israeli politics very closely. Every now and then they're involved in such fights, and you had Ariel Sharon a few years ago who was actually involved in a tussle with I believe with Benjamin Netanyahu's party, and he just rebranded to Kadima party, and within a few weeks he won the election. So it's never really about what you call yourself. It's all about who the brand is, and in this case sekutaura kwaita sisi vamwe vambonyora panapa ndeyekuti Chamisa ndiyani yesanje uvati kuti yenu Chamisa nguye real deal. So we want to hear from you. Chamisa tinopinda naye nemumvura mese, whatever it is. Chamisa chete. I think de vamwe vari kubvumirana nesu panapa kuti Chamisa, and I mean the brand Chamisa is way bigger than the name MDC Alliance. It's sad, but it is what it is. That's how we do politics in Africa. It's never really about policies. I don't believe anyone who took to the polls in the last election even bothered to read the manifesto or at least the policies of the party. All of us were just looking at who is on the ballot. We never really look at what do they really stand for, but who is on the ballot is how we do politics in Africa. So Chamisa, akafunga kuti uChamisa ingacabanga ukuthi ezibiza ukuthi Chamisa ukumbi party yake nje ayibiza ukuthi Chamisa Zimbabwe, abantu uZulu abantu bazamlandela kunjalo anjo ndo zvatiri kutaura panapa kuti azvinabasa kuti azvidaidza kuti as long as it is Chamisa, we know he has the numbers behind him. Let's look at some of the comments. My comments are we don't love MDC, we love Chamisa. Whether they take the name, we will vote for Chamisa. We're trying to gauge the mood of the electorate, at least maybe the MDC supporters, just to try and find out what they think around the subject that has been bothering the MDC, at least for the past 8 years, as far as we can remember, since 2012. The likes of Welshman Ncube left the MDC, and in fact, the Welshman Ncube left and claimed that his faction of the MDC was the real deal. And we know what happened within a few months. It was very apparent that Welshman Ncube did not have the numbers. They tried to bring Mutambara to at least sanitize, try and put lipstick on what we want to call a donkey, but we know how that ended. Tsvangirai was the real deal at the time. And then you had Job Sikhala, who also left to form MDC 99, and we know how that ended. You had Elliot, trying to remember the other Deputy Secretary General who also left the MDC and tried to call himself MDC, but hakuna kozvakasvika, because vanhu will always follow personalities in Africa. Abantu balandela umuntu, at least eAfrica asikhangela ukuthi umuntu umeleleni, sikhangela ukuthi ungubani. Anjo phela kungafaka uChamisa, even engathi uChamisa uzathengisa ilizwe, sizamlandela kunjalo ngoba silandaba ukuthi ngubani. Anjo, that's the sad reality. I don't know whether to call it a good thing or a sad thing, but this is how we do politics in Africa. It's barely anything to do with what people stand for, but it has something to do with personalities. Let's look at some of the comments. A comment that is rather this is Noreen Munjanja, who feels that no rebranding, Neren Die Anese, we will be confusing old people at home to vote for. I think this argument, Tagambo Famba Nayo argument, MDCT, and you had MDC, and then you also had MDC 99, and you had all other forms of MDC, but people still voted for MDCT. So the argument that we will confuse the electorate, I don't think that's a valid argument anymore. We have at least gone down that route a few times, and we know that people do not really care about the name of the party. All they are looking for is Chamisa or Tsvangirai's picture on the ballot. That's why you have pictures and party names. People are looking for a picture, and they would vote for whoever they feel like. We're just going to take a short break, and we will be right back.
Naumva nongumema dzinza kunakidza. Dzidza kuviringwanisu manje nguwa iyo.
Takudzisota.
Ya, unonzwa manje. Takudzima kuti maswera sei muri yeZimbabwe. Nhau dzichiverengwa nachikavangwena. Ndina vamazo pasign language. Mutungamiri wenyika vari zvakare mukuru wemauto emuchadenga nepasi vaNelson Chamisa vaperekedzwa pandandare yendege uko kwanga vachienda kumusangano wenyika dzepasi rose kuAddis Ababa, Ethiopia nhasi mangwanani.
Tauda seya.
Ava nenda kuvhura rimwe page mufano wangu.
Rimwe page
rinhau.
Yeah. Ave mune mapeji mangana.
Ava. Kana tisina nhau musiwo